If I told you that you could spend far less time pulling weeds and still grow healthier crops, you might think I was talking about some expensive new gardening gadget. But the Amish have been doing exactly that for generations, without fancy tools, herbicides, or even a rototiller. The secret lies not in working harder, but in working with the soil in a way that makes weeds practically give up before they start. In many modern gardens, the first sign of spring means pulling out the tiller and breaking up the ground. It feels productive, like a fresh start, but under the surface, that churning disrupts an entire underground world of fungi, microbes, and earthworms that hold the soil together and keep it healthy. More importantly, it drags thousands of dormant weed seeds to the surface, giving them exactly what they need, light and air, to burst into life. The Amish have learned that the less they disturb the soil, the fewer weeds they have to fight later. Over the years, their fields have stayed looser, richer, and far more resistant to erosion and drought, simply because the soil's natural structure remains intact. One thing you will never see on an Amish farm is bare earth sitting in the sun. They treat soil like a living thing that needs protection. The most common shield is a thick blanket of aged straw, often left over from last season's harvest or used as bedding for animals. By the time it's ready for the garden, it's partly broken down and soft, perfect for laying over beds. This cover keeps sunlight from reaching weed seeds, so they never sprout in the first place. It also feeds the soil as it decays, bringing in earthworms and leaving behind rich organic matter without any digging. The Amish often apply this straw in autumn, letting winter rain press it into a dense mat that still allows young plants to push through in spring. They spread it thick, thicker than most home gardeners would dare, because a skimpy layer simply won't stop weeds. Mulch doesn't have to come from straw. Another Amish method is to use living plants to guard the soil. These low-growing covers fill the spaces between rows and along pathways, shading the ground so weeds can't take hold. Clover is a favorite choice because it not only suppresses weeds but also improves the soil by adding nitrogen. These living covers are never left to grow wild. They are trimmed back with simple tools, grazed by animals, or naturally slowed by the shade of taller crops. In smaller home gardens, you can copy this method by planting creeping herbs, strawberries, or leafy greens between your main crops. The goal is simple: leave no bare patch for weeds to claim. In many gardens, last season's stalks and stems are cleared away completely. On Amish farms, they are left right where they stand. Corn stalks, bean vines, and sunflower stems are cut low, but kept on the soil surface to break down naturally. This layer of residue acts as a physical barrier, making it harder for tiny weed seedlings to push through. Many annual weeds prefer smooth, bare soil to germinate in, and the rough texture of plant debris discourages them. By spring, the residue has softened just enough to plant through without tilling, all while returning nutrients to the topsoil. The Amish understand that weeds follow their own seasonal patterns, and they use planting schedules to gain the upper hand. In some cases, they prepare a bed early, cover it with mulch well before planting time, and starve the first wave of weeds of the light they need to grow. They also use a simple but clever trick known as a stale seed bed. The soil is moistened just enough to encourage weed seeds to sprout, then those tender seedlings are smothered before any crops go in. This knocks back the first flush of competition, giving vegetables or grains a clean start. Over years of careful stewardship, Amish soil changes in a way that favors crops over weeds. The undisturbed fungal networks, the steady addition of organic matter, and the constant soil cover create conditions where weeds struggle to compete. Healthy, living soil isn't just good for plants, it's bad for weeds. By layering straw, living covers, and plant residues year after year, they build a rich, spongy soil that holds moisture, resists erosion, and feeds crops naturally. Weed pressure drops not because the seeds are gone, but because the environment no longer suits them. You don't need a team of horses or acres of land to make these principles work. Start by committing to keep your soil covered at all times, whether with straw, a living cover, or the remains of past crops. Smother weeds before they start, and be generous with the thickness of your mulch. Try mixing different covers over the seasons so your soil gets a variety of benefits. Let clover enrich the nitrogen one year, then switch to straw the next for a fresh layer of organic matter. Above all, Resist the yearly habit of turning the soil. Trust the layers you've built to protect the seed bank below and keep weeds buried. The Amish approach to weed control isn't about quick fixes. It's about small, consistent actions that add up to a cleaner, healthier garden over time. When you walk past their tidy rows in midsummer, you're seeing the result of months, often years, of protecting and feeding the soil, not just frantic hours of pulling weeds. You can do the same in your own backyard. Start with a single bed this year, keep it covered from one season to the next, and watch how the weeds begin to fade. It's not magic, it's simply giving the soil the care it needs so that it gives back in abundance.